If you want to build an impressive chest, you're gonna have to build some serious strength. There's just no way around it. Look at any bodybuilder with massive pecs, and I'll show you a guy who can press a ton of weight. Even go look at a powerlifter who doesn't care how big he is. And you know what? The powerlifters with the strongest bench presses have the biggest pecs. There's a direct correlation between strength and size with this body part. That's why I'm not really a fan of overly elaborate exercises for the chest. Heavy presses at different angles is really all you need for chest development. Not only that, but they are always the most productive. Go back to the 60s and even the 50s in weightlifting and bodybuilding. These guys use minimal equipment. They spent the majority of their time training chests on the bench press. Guess what? No one had lagging pecs. So what were they doing? What are their exercises they perform? I'll tell you what, a lot of those were very basic. Yet almost all these exercises I never really see done by bodybuilders anymore. And even the average gym goer tends to shy away from some of these movements. So let's break them down for you right here. Number 1, incline barbell bench press. Now, I know what you're probably gonna say. Pete, a lot of people still bench. Maybe that's true, but I really never see this exercise done to actually build the upper pecs properly. Let's break it down. For the incline barbell press, you want the upper pecs or the clavicular head of the chest to do most of the work. Most people think simply using an incline takes care of this. But the way that most people incline press, it's either all front delts or they turn the incline press into a flat press by arching too much. Now, if you want to use this basic movement to actually build that impressive upper shelf of the pecs, you need to focus on 2 things. 1, your grip. 2, where you bring that bar. Your grip should actually be closer than most people think on this exercise. Just outside shoulder width is good here. Personally, I like my pinky to be about 2 inches inside the ring. Or what I really like doing is I'll place my thumb on the bar. I'll keep it about an inch outside the knurling, and I'll wrap my hands around the bar there. Now, why is grip so important? With a barbell in your hands, you're locked into a fixed position. It's not like a dumbbell where you can move freely. And in order to work the pecs hard, especially at the top of the movement, we need those hands close to each other. The function of the pecs is not only to press, but to actually pull the arm across the body. So your pecs actually fully contract when your arms are straight with your hands close together. So a closer grip is ideal here. But now, not so much that you're only training triceps with this press. With this slightly closer grip, you're also going to create a greater range of motion for the pecs, so don't skip it. Next is where we're going to bring the bar. Most people bench press to the mid pecs or the nipple, and when they move on to an incline press, they try to do the exact same thing. But remember, we want to force those upper pecs to work, and the key to do that is bring that bar down to the clavicle. If you do this correctly, those upper pecs are going to be fully stretched at the bottom. There's absolutely no grip or no bar path that stretches the pecs the same way this combination does. If you do this correctly, you're fully stretching those pecs when you bring the bar down to the clavicle, and you're fully contracting those pecs at the top by having a narrow grip. If you ever heard of the guillotine press, which was another old school staple, guys would bring that bar down even higher, literally to the neck. But this is something I don't recommend at all, as the bar to the clavicle gives you just as good a stretch, and it's much safer overall. Trust me, I've tried them all. This is the combination for upper pecs. Next movement, the dumbbell fly. I really just don't see this done anymore. Maybe guys do them on cables and pec decks and machines. But again, I can tell you that when I do see this movement done, it's almost never correct. In fact, I can't even tell you when I've ever been to the gym and seen it done correctly, other than maybe when I'm performing this exercise with a training partner. Everyone tries to keep a straight arm on this exercise and basically turns it into a rotator cuff movement. Now, the dumbbell fly was originally an exercise done with a lot of weight. Guys in the old school era would easily do 70 pounds, 80, 90, or even 100-pound dumbbell flies. But that's because they were actually doing a completely different movement than what most guys do today. The dumbbell fly is all about getting the max stretch of the pecs. To do this, you actually don't want a straight arm, but you actually want a slight bend in the elbow that you lock into place. This allows you to drive back with the elbows, not with the hands. And with this form, you can stretch those pecs even further than you ever could with a straight arm. With that straight arm, you're limited by the much weaker and smaller rotator cuffs. Now, with that slight bend in the elbow, you're gonna maximally stretch those pecs at the bottom. And then you're gonna bring those elbows out across the body in front of you. Your elbows are gonna straighten out a bit at the top, and that's okay. But this is not a press at all, because you're not focused on moving the weights. You're focused on moving those elbows with the weights in your hands as resistance. Trust me, the moment you start thinking about moving the dumbbells, which is what most people do when they do flies, you're no longer working those pecs, but you're stressing out those shoulders. Pull those elbows back, Stretch those pecs. Move those elbows across the body. Do that, and your pecs are gonna have the most massive pump that you've never felt before. Personally, when I do this movement, I like to do them on a low incline. That personally helps me get an even greater stretch of the pecs. So feel free to experiment with doing this on a flat or an incline press. The bottom line here, an incline press, a flat press, and a dumbbell fly, it's really all you need to build massive pecs. And anything else beyond this is simply just another variation. That's why these movements are staples in programs like my old school mass gain system. They're all basic movements suited for long-term progression. And if you want the exact programs that I personally recommend to build more muscle using proven old school bodybuilding methods, check out my old school mass gain training system below. And as always, if you want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.